Hello, this is Linda Vetches Nichols, evolutionaryhealer.com, and I have with me the most amazing person, Meilin Ehlke. Welcome, Meilin.
Thank you. Hello from Germany. How are you, Linda, today?
Thank you. Good, very good. So, Meilin, you have an incredible journey. You have an incredible story of transformation, and there's some really interesting things that you're able to do for people. So, I'm going to let you get started with that. Tell us a little bit about you, Meilin.
Wow, my life is a fascination to myself. It is always unfolding, and I'm learning more about myself and the world and the universe we're living in. It has been very, mm, in a way, humbling the last few years as I get to know more about myself as a being and the vastness and the beauty within me. And at the same time, as I recognize that in myself, I recognize that in everything in the world. And as a little child, I felt that already. Yeah. But then somehow it got lost, it got mixed up. And slowly, 10 years ago, I was introduced by a dear friend to yoga, and through yoga I started feeling my body, and it was the Korean style. So they did a lot of meditation and energy work so you can heal yourself and your body. So that invigorated me in a way and set me then on a really steep journey to
Definitely.
unfold. Mhm.
Yes. And it's interesting you're talking about the body because for you there are a lot of challenges in your body and you worked through those. You're an amazing person, and do you want to tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yes, sure. I was born with cerebral palsy, so I have a different gait. And
Mhm.
a lot of challenges were, first of all, getting used to people to look at me when I walk around the street, and
Mhm.
always feeling observed.
Yeah.
Um, and then, but then, I don't know, I had something in me always positive. And so I forgot often. And that's, I think it's a lucky thing for me that I forgot that. And I had a appetite for life.
Mhm.
So I love to adventure and go out and try things in sports. And I pushed my buttons. I was lucky to grow up in a family and where they supported me and discovering how to maneuver and how to get further and to test. And they had patience in letting me try whatever I wanted to try. And then it got difficult when you become a teenager and you start looking for boys or later in men. And then I had to learn, that was a good journey, that people were interested in me. And as a child you think, no, because you are so different, or I'm so different, how will
Right.
that be? But I didn't have to worry, because I've learned they looked at something else. They didn't look at my body. And even friends, I've learned, what are they feeling? What can I give them to be in a relationship? So then over time I saw the beauty and the strengths and the different way of thinking and the different thought, and how I react differently to life because I
Mhm.
have cerebral palsy, and live my joy even though of a physical restriction in a way.
Right. Yeah, and it's just, such a paradigm shift that you made for yourself and that you've allowed others to make in even how they view you. You're very determined, and you really don't let it get in your way on a physical plane, an emotional plane, or a spiritual plane. So it's really fun to be part of your life. And you're the Facebook friend who ends up visiting Asheville, North Carolina, and we just had so much fun. So thank you again for that experience.
Yeah, that was a wonderful time. Thank you for inviting me to come to Asheville. I enjoyed it a lot.
You're
I'll have
welcome.
to come.
We'll do it again. Okay, and so you're going to be talking about the original paradigm. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll get going into your slides.
Yeah, I was one thing that always interested me is how does the brain function? Because I learned really quickly that the brain operates my body. So that's what I grew up with. So I got interested in the brain. And but while I was listening and learning about the functions of the brain, I also developed then the spiritual side. And I said, oh, there's more than just what we've taught. The brain is, this mass that rules everything. And it brought, I have a drive to really find the wisdom, to find the source why things happen. Not just that they happen, that you can telepathically call someone and they'll hear your voice, or hands-on healing, how it happens. I want to really understand why. So that brought me really on the way to look at the world, the universe, the cosmos differently. And then as I did that, I noticed that my body was responding different, and how thoughts could start being materialized, manifested and materialized. So that now I'm at the point where I'm very sure, and I had many, many experience, and I also saw the shift, as you said so beautifully, paradigm shift in other people, how once we're connected to the source, the original source of the cosmos or our own, then our life goes totally different, because we're in a way in the driver's seat. Once we remembered, and for all of us, it's about remembering.
Absolutely. So very cool. All right. So your answer is within. Okay, tell us more about that, how our answers are actually within us.
Yeah, so when I started to search through my body, I really started noticing, because reading gives you information, but the truth my body feels. I'm going to go back to the yoga at that time. We were doing meditations after a while, and I could feel how suddenly my body was being moved backwards when I was sitting. And I said, so what is moving my body? I'm not moving my body. And I've learned to connect to the energy and notice and feel the energy going through my body. And at that time, I didn't know yet that I was a physical channel, and that was a natural thing for me. But for everyone, that is a natural. I'm just now more in tune of it.
Right. Yep.
Our body feels the truth, and there's nothing around it, and no one. And we feel if it's not true, our body becomes dense. And if we do the right thing and it's joyful for us, we expand, we become soft, it becomes easy to act and to move our body. So it becomes a gauge, the body becomes a gauge for our truth. And even, when we interact with other people.
Yeah, and I remember you teaching me about fear, and there isn't anything to fear, and to just open, like expand, like you use that word, expand all my cells, and just allow whatever negativity I feel is coming at me to just vaporize right through me. So I just love the way that you teach on things like even fear.
Yeah. It's just that we know something is tightening us up in a way. So then I make a decision. I say I don't want this anymore. Yeah, that's how it starts. Or something is painful. We say we don't want that anymore. So that's the moment we go out in the world and start looking at ourselves. So and then I said, oh, it's here or there within the body. How can I change it? What can I do? And often it's just focus or becoming aware of something in our life, how we're reacting or acting, or maybe there was a trauma and an experience that was uncomfortable for us. So, and then I said, oh, let me expand into it. Let it expand so all the little particles can move apart and can take on their own frequency. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you had, oh, go ahead. You had such an amazing experience with that. You had, you were out with the shamans, really, you were getting teachings, and a great big boulder, huge boulder fell on you. Most likely should have killed you and certainly crushed you to powder. And Tell us about that. That was interesting too.
Wow, yeah, that was a fascinating experience. It was really an interaction with the spirit of the mountain. And
Mm,
so the boulder did fall on me, and it fell on my hip, and and there in those moments, I knew I was exchanging, as we're doing now, exchanging wisdom with the stone, so the ancestral line, but also with the mountain, which is a very powerful. And I knew there is something to do with even changing the material, becoming really, really soft and becoming one with the material of the stone. So in a way that it becomes light like a feather, or I become light like a feather,
mm-hmm.
or we dissolve in a way mass. And for the most of the time, it was very possible. Two
Wow.
times I did I flipped out of it because once I was afraid not to see my son anymore. Yeah, for a moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the other time when I thought I'm alone, but always in the moments when
Ah,
I'm not alone, and that everything around people will know, and the sunlight and the time, and I will be found, and will be rescued.
yeah.
I went into this knowingness that it's possible, and that everything is orchestrated to support me and find me. And in the meantime, I asked them out, so what is the wisdom for me? It was about slowing down, and I taught that
Mm.
last year and a half, how to slow down in life and become ease, and that we through this find more about ourselves and feel even more our wisdom, remember more. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
very easy to take action because we know it's the right one. We're not confused.
Yes, absolutely. You got kind of stuck after that in a way. We were kind of in and out of being stuck, and then you made some important decisions for your life and, freed yourself, so to speak, from what was going on in your life as well as from that stone, right?
Right? Yes, because yes, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so question, acknowledge, decide. I mean, you've really touched on that already. Do you want to say any more about that?
Yeah, it's whenever you make a decision, I call it also the conscious thought. You create something. Uh, and you create something because you have a question and you decide to find the solution or to find a way and go for it. It's in a way, go for it. And
Mm-hmm.
then you acknowledge that you're doing it and that it's happening, and um, and then even you keep on deciding, and then you start all over, you question again, and that's how we move forward, always on a regular basis. Well, so
Yeah,
what is it, what holds us back? We see it, then we understand it, and then we move forward. So it's always it's a cycle.
right.
And
Is
to
there a
take
pic?
the time for questioning, it's important that we slow down, to take the time for all those steps. It's nothing that is rushed, and it should feel really easy.
Yes, and one of the probably most important questions, at least in my mind, is am I happy and what will make me happy? And if I am happy, what will make me happier? How about for you? What's like the most important question?
For me to get into my natural state, being, a no mind chatter, and understanding how I can get there.
Hmm.
What do I do in my daily life? As for example, uh, treat my body, treat myself, what foods to keep at certain vibrations so I can do the work I'm doing. So those
Hmm.
are my big questions for me. The last really 10 years, energy, how to feel energy, how to work with energy, how
Hmm.
to improve energy in my surrounding, to
Right.
see, yeah, not even myself, other people, other animals, the earth on a large, but even to go beyond into the universe.
I love it. Yeah. And my question about being happy, that's what raises my vibration. So I'm right in there with you because that energy thing, that piece is so huge. I'm a manifesting generator. I can manifest and I can hold the manifestation. But if I'm not happy, I don't manifest. So good. All right. Yeah. And then take action. That's a huge piece too. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that, or should we move to the next
No, I
slide?
think it's very clear that that everyone should really know it's an action you decide and say, now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yep,
And do it. Or it
absolutely.
can be tiny. Sometimes people get afraid because they have this big vision and they have to take a huge step.
Yep,
But small steps get us there much faster with less energy. It's easier. And to remember that we're being supported when we take action.
yep. Very cool. All right. So validation is within. What have you learned about that?
Well, we all look for validation most of our life outside. As children already, we take on the body language of our parents. We observe them so that they acknowledge us and see us. We want to create beautiful things all our life. And maybe if you did have not so much luck and you didn't have a perfect relationship or you had traumas in your young life, these
Yeah.
things, these programming that goes on then into our adult life. And for example, then you look for father figures in your husband or your relationships, and for men it may be the other way. Oh, it doesn't matter which gender it is. So this programming stays until the moment where we see, oh, okay, it's there, and it goes backward on the to acknowledge it, to see
Mm-hmm.
it, to take the time to look at it,
Right.
and not to be fearful of looking at it, because it brings a lot of answers. As we heal ourselves, our heart, then suddenly you don't look around for validation because we learn that we are sufficient. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that the most important part is, it is within our body, our source. And if we understand and experience, it's really about the experience, how it functions to go from from the material world into the non-material world. Once you've
Mm-hmm.
experienced that, and to be within your source on top of it later, and you notice this freedom, this peace, and the sensation of being just you, everything falls away.
Right. And
So
that
that
replaces
replaces. Mhm.
that replaces the need for validation, you're saying.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Wonderful. And then living in the moment. That again is about noticing, okay, where am I? And I always say, well, which stage are you on? Are you being a victim? Are you being the predator? Are you blaming others? Or are you just in your power with your boundaries? It's and living in the moment and out of judgment and out of your pain body and out of your ego. How about living in the moment? What does that mean for you?
Doing always what I want in the moment.
Hmm.
So to really find my rhythm, to live after my rhythm, to dance in, I always use this example because it's often what I do. I have to be at an appointment, but there's a need to express something, to dance, or a song to be sung, or something else feels more important than running out of the door. And to do that, to dance for 2 minutes, that dance, or 3 minutes, however long it goes, the song. Because then once I step out of the door, the universe has rearranged itself. And
Ah,
that I become more open to feeling when there's a hesitation, and not to go and do something else before that feels right for me. Because then maybe all the lights are green, and before you would have driven, they would have been all red. Or maybe you come then to a meeting and the person is late anyway.
right.
So it always works out. And it is
Yeah.
about breathing our way of air into our body. So all
Mhm.
these things, and not to worry too much. And it really, you live more and more in the moment. Also, the less mind chatter you have. You have no mind chatter. There is no worrying. You really are present, and you're aligned in the moment to everything that surrounds you. So
Yeah.
you are tuned.
I love it. And what a great analogy with the stoplights. That was amazing. Thank you for that. All right. So source is within. And you hit on that already. We're just looking for things outside, looking for validation. And, somebody, I heard a sermon about, um, you know, y- God's not expecting you to pray about like which tie to wear today, or which dress to put on. I mean, there might be times where you're really stressed out and would do something like that, but for the most part, it's like taught Heavenly Father, taught parenting, so as we grow up, as we grow older, we depend on our parent a lot less, and I believe that eventually people do find source within. I believe the kids are being born these days really in touch with the source, if you will, being within. What do you have to say about that, Meilin?
It's very true. The children, more and more children are way ahead of us, because they didn't have these circumstances we lived in, or our parents. It's a generational thing. They were afraid of all to express their gifts, and God, it goes back thousands of years, of trauma, warfare, owning and being slave, and it's all over the world the same, and we carry that within us. These newer generations, the last 20 years, they're connected. They already have the information. They feel the energy, source energy within them. They know there is this source, where we all created at this moment, and we're all being moved forward by the unbending wind. And then you have, they also know they're the creator, that they work together with the universe, they work with Star Sister Earth together, but that the information comes out of them, that they're an important part. It's not that we're all led. We are so connected to each other. We understand each other. So any moment I live more as myself, I give someone else the opportunity to live more themselves, or more in the moment, right? The more you open up, the more you express your joy and feel joyful, you're more creative. That moment, everyone around you opens up, and one person influences millions of people. And
Yes.
that's nothing to be neglected. This is amazing.
No. When we make our own paradigm shift, everybody else is forced to shift with us. It's just an energetic thing. It's almost like playing dominoes, just stand them all up and tip one and everything changes. And that's a beautiful thing. All right. So the bigger picture, do you feel like you've touched on that, or?
Yes. Because it's really, we go inside, but inside is at the same time, it's the outside. Right? And it also happens that we start understanding others. That is the most important thing. We understand others, because as we understand ourselves, we see them in a different light. Even, if you're mad at someone, I start thinking, so why was I mad at what is behind all of that? I can go behind and go back and see into their life and see into their into their parents and their ancestors, and it goes then cultural, and it goes wherever we've grown up to. At the end, we are connected, because we're all created at the same moment. And so the separation disappears, and then we are open to really figure out, so where do we come from, as a human species? And that is important to see. And I think all over the world now, even in history, we've taught certain things, and they're dissolving. New information is coming up. There have been, more civilizations living here, more sacred spots. We're finding the sacred spots on Earth. And as we see ourselves sacred, then we can also find them in the landscape.
Yep, absolutely.
Countries. And then we see that every country has those. And it goes on from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it creates a beautiful life when you're living from the source with, and I call it walking at the level of your soul. Jesus is a classic example of walking at the level of the soul. He was out of judgment. He had a beautiful life and a beautiful relationship outside as well as with himself. So very cool. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, and he was a fantastic materializer. So he manifested and he materializes. And this, he really understood himself, and he understood others.
And he understood vibration. He said, talked about the rocks crying out. Well, you can, take a crystal glass and get it to cry out, so it's like, yep, you can get the rocks to cry out too. You ought to know that one, huh, Meilin? Had your intimate relationship from the big old boulder. I love it. Okay, so yeah, so the original paradigm, there's the big picture, there's creating from within, and then a beautiful life. So why don't you summarize all of that for us?
This is, life is beautiful. That's what I've noticed since I'm born. Life is, to be on this earth is magic. To be on this earth and to connect to all beings, for many seen and unseen, but we're starting to see more and more and feel and sense everything that is around us and how we function together and how we have this co-creation going on, and that we need each other. Yeah, and we cannot just take away a natural, if it's a species of an animal or a tree, we have to cherish everything, because the vastness is not yet understood. It is like we have been also minimized, and now it's time to come back out like we've been before, and finding ourselves, finding this natural state again, and seeing beauty. And for me, beautiful encompasses everything. It's not just the beauty of a woman. It's the compassion, it's the love, it's the magic, it's the feeling, it's the empowerment of knowing what I am about or what I can do, and how I can support others, I can support myself, and that I have a voice. And I use my voice for myself and for other people and for other beings. So that creates fascinating conversations, fascinating feelings, how we treat each other, and that I call then a beautiful life.
The other thing you do is you're a singer, but you're almost like channeling songs, and some of them are even quite indigenous. So that's something that happened for you. At what age did you start doing your sacred sound work, would you
3 years
say?
ago that started. I
Okay.
remember now, though, that I did it as a child, but about 3 years ago I
Ah.
was reawoken um, at a trade show, and since then I channel many beings and ancestors and star nations, and bring the wisdom, the source wisdom, to people so they can learn also to delve within themselves, and that they have all their answers, and that
Right,
they empower them from within, and so they can settle inside,
right.
and
And
then they feel fascinating.
right, and sometimes that can sound like just all this woo-woo, and then you realize, hey, we're so far away from this, but if I died in the woods, I would turn into the woods. I would be absorbed by everything in the woods. We're connected, and as science keeps rolling stuff out, we can deny that we're not connected. We can't even deny it anymore, is what I'm trying to say. So very cool. All right. So you have an amazing gift, Sacred Sounds for You. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that,
Oh,
Meilin?
yes, yes, yes. We didn't get to these songs. I love to sing these songs. I'm very open in the moment. Yeah, I live in the moment. So I even whatever comes through in the moment. So these tones that are here for you to be downloaded, everyone who's watching and listening, are created to help support you opening up. So
Mm-hmm.
and especially with everyone who has come to observe us here on this beautiful show Linda is creating, because there's a certain pool of what was brought together, and so we can communicate on higher levels and co-create and connect with each other. So that's what is behind those tones and songs, the intention I put
I
into
love
the
it.
songs, and then that's what came. So enjoy a ride of tones and sounds and few words of wisdom.
Yeah. Is anything coming through for you right now? Just a little short something to help everybody sort of expand today?
Sure.
Thank you. It worked for me. I could just totally feel that. Love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, so go into your email where you found the link to this recording and go back to the email, go below Meilin's bio and picture, and this link you see here will be there. Just click the link and go out and opt in for Meilin's Sacred Sound for You gift. Very cool. Thank you, Meilin. Thank you for the song as well. Great interview. Really, pulled out a lot of maybe things that you don't always get a chance to share with others. So thank you for allowing us to get to know you at a deeper level.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Nothing brings me more joy than to share my wisdom and speak to whoever.
Yeah, right. It's so beautiful because, you're really here to awaken even the awakened ones, as they say. So we all really appreciate all of the things that you've been able to remember. We are all the same. We do have these abilities, and we just aren't as awakened as we can be through all those filters that parents put on us, or even having a predator in our lives. So we really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.